Okay, so we're having some problems with Jitsi recording. I noticed that on Tuesday it didn't record for me. So I have a backup recording for me right now, so I think we're going to be good. I'll be able to put this on YouTube from a different device. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga. I'm excited to be with you today, and what I had in mind for us is to spend some time focusing on strengthening our glutes and also releasing the hip flexors. That goes hand in hand, by the way, so we can kind of work on both of those at the same time with quite a few of our poses. And also stretching and releasing the IT band. The IT band runs from the outside of your hip all the way down the outside of the thigh. It crosses the knee and attaches here on the tibia. So that's why it's called the IT band, the ilio, which is your ilium here, your hip, and attaches to the tibia, iliotibial band. That connective tissue can get very, very tight, especially if you are an avid biker, an avid runner, those types of things, or if you're stationary and sedentary in your job. So those are some things that contribute to tightening that area. So that involves deep connective tissue as well as a small little muscle here called the tensor fasciae lata, the TFL. So we'll be addressing all of those issues today. I also have a little bit of release for shoulders, upper back, and neck. I have my block, my strap, a blanket as an option, and we'll get started actually standing up today on your mat. So if you're already on the floor, let's come on up. And we're going to take this right leg and slightly cross it behind the left. And this will also challenge our balance a little bit. And we'll sweep the right arm up and then press outward with your right hip and feel a little stretch. And I want you to notice where you're feeling this stretch this morning, because there's a lot of areas that can be tight associated with this particular stretch. So for you, it might be in your shoulder, in your lat, along the outside of your ribs, in your back, that big QL muscle, that diamond-shaped muscle in your back, or on the outside of your hip, maybe even down the outside of your thigh into that iliotibial band. We'll take one more breath here as you just diagnose and see how that feels, just getting started in our practice today. And then exhale and come up. Now I want to take a gentle forward fold with this ankle still crossed behind. You might need to put your hands on a chair or your block or the wall. So begin to hinge forward from your hips and fold forward. Now reaching the hands down depending on your flexibility. You can also place hands on this front shin. I want you to push out into your right hip again. Ooh, I'm definitely feeling that stretch this morning. And this doesn't have to be too vigorous, as we're going to be spending a lot of time today on this particular muscle group. Holding, feeling that stretch also in your hamstrings, just a couple more breaths. And then as we prepare to rise, I'd like you to round your back like a cat. Tuck your tailbone under, drop your chin, and then roll your body up one vertebra at a time. Your head comes up very last. Finish with a little chest expansion here. Arms come back. Expand through the front of the pectorals and the shoulders. Sometimes standing like this is a little difficult too for balance, so that's a wonderful extra little challenge here. All right, release your arms down and we'll switch the cross of your feet. So the left foot crosses behind the right, and I do have both of my toes slightly turned out. This is going to give you a little bit better base of support and balance. And we'll take the right hand to the right hip, left arm reaches up, and you're using this hand to help you push the hip out. And really create some tension in your arm too. It's not just kind of hanging there limp, but you're reaching. And that dynamic tension is really going to help to release your lat muscles and move that all the way down the side ribs into that TFL, tensor fascia lata, down the IT band, maybe into the back muscles as well. And your head can be neutral. You can look down to the floor. You can look up, a little bit more challenging with balance. And just notice if this side feels any different from the right side stretch. One more nice deep inhalation. And exhale, pull yourself up. And then prepare carefully to fold forward. So keep your spine neutral. We're hinging right from the hip flexors, coming down. Now if you're really tight, you might just only come halfway, like a half lift forward fold. Explore that range of motion, and once you come into your full range, I want you to push out into this left hip. So I'm pressing it out towards the side wall, feeling that nice stretch there. This is going to get the medial glute as well in this particular stretch, so a lot of things going on. And you want to take it to the range of motion that suits your tightest area. So if that's the hamstrings, you might not be folding forward as much. If it's the IT band, you might not be pressing the hip out quite as far. Let's take one more breath here. Then to exit the pose, start to curve your back like a cat. So tuck your tailbone under, drop your chin, roll your spine up to restack the vertebrae. Head comes up last. Then expand outward into your chest expansion. Your hip bones are facing forward, your glutes are engaged, your inner thighs are tightened. And then release down. Now bring your feet to parallel. They can be tight together or hips distance apart. We'll take an inhale up, soften your knees, exhale and swan dive into forward bend. So stretching the hamstrings here. Nice neutral spine. Now bend your left knee. So that's going to bend. Keep your right leg straight and push out to the right side into that hip. Now we're going to twist to the right. So you'll put your left hand across your right shin right here in front. Your right hand can go to your hip and turn your body to face the right side wall. You can also lift this right arm up to the ceiling. So I have left knee bent, right leg straight, twisting to the right. Pushing out into that right hip, one more breath. Releasing the twist, coming back down. Softening both knees, reverse swan dive, come all the way up, extend. And then swan dive back down into that forward bend. Your knees can be soft. And now we'll bend the right knee, straighten the left, and push out into that left hip. So my pelvis is slightly twisting a little bit to get my energy to go out into that left hip. Adding our twist, the right hand crosses towards the left shin. Left hand can go to your hip as you start to rotate your chest to face the left side wall, or your arm can reach up. There's a lot of balance with this too, so really feel your feet grounding into your mat. Breathing, engaging your core, abdominals. One more breath. And then as you exhale, come out of the twist. Soften both knees. Reverse swan dive, come all the way up. Press the palms together and come into Samastitihi, our balanced tension position. Just check in, see how everything feels in those hips, nice and open. And we'll begin to strengthen the glutes with chair pose. So if you feel your weight tip back into your heels, lift your toes up off the floor and sit down into a little chair. Now, there's other muscle groups here that are working, not just the glutes. Your quads are also active with this. Your core is engaged, but I want you to start to bring your awareness to the butt muscles. And we are going to sit and rise about halfway up. And try not to take all the work into the front of your thighs. So if you bring your awareness to a certain muscle group and focus on it, you can get more engagement of that particular muscle group when it's working hand in hand with other muscles in a certain pose. I still have my toes lifted up, so I'm going to weight back into the heels. If I shift my weight forward, then my quads really are going to work more. So if we send our weight back into the heels, we can activate the glutes a little bit more. Let's do 3 more pulsing chair poses. And 2. And 1. Hold. Pull the belly in, check your posture, shoulders are down and back. My thighs are definitely talking to me a little bit here, so I know they're taking a lot of the work, but focus on the glutes. 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. And rise up, standing tall. Bring your arms back behind you. Open up through the chest, squeeze through the glutes. Now when we tighten the glutes, the opposing muscle here, the hip flexor, releases. So it's a nice combination to be able to release the hip flexor and work on strengthening the opposing muscle group. So facing forward to the top edge of your mat, step your left foot forward and your right foot back with a slight turn out and come into a short stance, warrior 1. And square off your hips forward. So we're going to be focusing on this right glute, and I want you to squeeze it really tightly and then release the tension. Squeeze and release. This helps you to find that muscle because sometimes it switches off and we kind of lose that neuromuscular connection of the brain and that particular muscle. Let's do 2 more. Squeeze the muscle and release it. Now squeeze and hold it, squeeze. So this muscle should be firm. Lift your right arm up and take a little bitty side bend over to the left. And you're still holding that squeeze on the glute. This is going to help you to relax your hip flexor and to get a little bit more bang for your buck out of this stretch. Keep squeezing that muscle. 2 more breaths. Really feel the power in this nice standing pose when you're engaging that glute muscle. Come back up, release the arm down, step the back foot forward, and then step your left foot back with a slight turn out of the foot in a short stance, warrior 1. Now really be sure your hips are squared. Both of your frontal hip bones, the ASIS facing forward. Find that left glute and squeeze and release. Tighten and release. And you can tighten it really hard. It's a strong muscle. But if it hasn't been very active for a while, it could be a little weakened. And squeeze it twice more. And then squeeze and hold it. So it's really tight on that left glute. Left arm reaches up. Side bend over to the right. Maintaining that tension in your left glute as you stretch. Now sometimes it's really hard to keep breathing while you're tensing a muscle. So keep that squeeze going, but move the breath in and out. Nose in nose or nose in mouth with the inhalation and exhalation. 1 more breath in. And come back up, release the arm, and step the back foot forward. Let's take a nice big inhale up. Exhale, swan dive into forward bend. And we'll step the left foot back. We're actually going to work on the front glute, this time the right glute. Bend your back knee quite a bit and come up into a lunge position. So I have my right knee bent about 90, my back knee bent a fair amount, my heel is lifted on the back foot. You can bring hands to prayer, and we're going to do those small little pulsing movements just like we did with chair pose. Down and up. Now if this is too strenuous, go back to chair and do that exercise pulsing down and up, or if you have any knee pain with this particular exercise. And we're focusing on this right glute. This is our crescent lunge. You can bring your arms up if you like. Down and up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Find a place to hold. Breathe 3 breaths. Now tense both glutes. This front one is supporting you. The back one is tightening as well to release your hip flexor. 1 more breath. Then reach your fingers down to the mat. Step the back foot forward. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Come up to relax those leg muscles. Maybe a baby back bend. Swan dive back down, bringing the fingertips down to the mat, to block to the floor. And step your right foot back. Heel is lifted. Come up, bend your back knee quite a bit. So I have my front knee bent, back knee bent, shoulders are over your hips, and we will go down and part way up. So our left glute in the front is doing the action. Now my leg isn't straightening and bending a whole lot, so it's really a lot of the glute muscle here that's taking on this exercise through this range of motion. Again, if you're feeling any knee pain, this is too strenuous, do this in chair pose with both knees bending and straightening. Last 3, 2, 1. Now find a place to hold for 3 breaths and tense both glutes. So my right one's tensing to release the hip flexor. My front one's tensing to hold myself in this pose nice and strong. Abs engaged. 1 more breath. And then reach your hands down to the mat. Step the back foot forward. Reverse swan dive. Come all the way up. And then swan dive all the way back down into your forward bend. Walk both feet back behind you into downward facing dog. So we did some stretches at the very beginning for the IT band. And now we're going to do one in downward dog. If your wrists start to get tired, you can bring your elbows down onto the mat and do this also in dolphin. So turn both of your feet out. So your toes are out, your heels are in. Bend your right knee, drop your left heel down, and push your hip out into that left side. So I'm rotating my pelvis just a little bit, pushing out to the left. Feel that little bit of a stretch through the outside of the glute and through that IT band. I'm also feeling this big time in my calf to drop that heel down. All right, let's switch. So the left knee bends, the right heel pushes down, and then my hip pushes out to the right as much as I can. And your thigh is in external rotation. And you're pressing way off of your hands so there's not a lot of pressure into your wrists. 1 more breath here. And then come back up, align your heels to parallel, drop your knees down for just a little bit of a break for your wrists. Child's pose. Either arms in front, next to the sides of your body. Relax through your hands. And we're going to do this one more time with the thighs actually inwardly rotated instead of externally rotated. So we'll come back to our downward dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips up nice and high, and then turn your toes in like you're pigeon-toed. Your heels are out. And this isn't just turning your feet in, it's turning your whole leg bone in. Now bend your right knee, it's going to knock inward. Drop your left heel down and push out into your left hip a little bit. Totally different stretch with your thigh in this medially rotated position. Keep breathing. Broaden through those shoulder blades, stay nice and stable. And then we'll switch. Bend the left knee, press the right heel down. Push into that right hip, so shift your pelvis over that direction. Keep breathing, keep breathing. If you need to come down sooner, always with these poses, listen to your body. Take any modifications that you need. All right, let's come back to center. Realign your feet to parallel. Bend your knees. Come into your child's pose, relax your shoulders and your wrists. So we're going to activate the glutes from a prone position. So we'll take our time to come onto our belly here. Lengthening out, come all the way down. Hips are onto the mat. And you can make a little pillow for your forehead by stacking your hands right here in front of you and just relax your forehead down. I might keep mine up from time to time so I can be sure my mouth is facing the microphone since I don't have the one on my ear today. So what we're going to do is squeeze the right glute and try to lift your leg up off the ground any amount. And then lower it down, squeeze your left glute and lift your left leg up. And lower it down. I think I hear somebody's camera turned on, or somebody's mic turned on. If someone could check and see, because I'm hearing some background noise there. When I've been starting my Jitsi, I've been muting everyone automatically. So sometimes if you don't realize that, you go to mute yourself and you're actually unmuting. So we're just alternating these back and forth. Squeezing the buttocks, lift and lower and lift and lower. Now either continuing with those alternating leg lifts or try squeezing both glutes at the same time and lifting both legs up. So it's lift and lower. For me, I cannot go very high at all, probably due to tight hip flexors, or probably some strength as well. So it's okay if you're just coming a few inches off the ground. Squeeze and release. Let's do 4 more repetitions, either 2 on each leg or 4 both at the same time. And up. Good, 2 more. Lift and lower. Last one. And lower down. Let's take a counter stretch for your low back. So press into your hands, push yourself up, and come into cat. So we'll tuck the tailbone under, curve the spine, look towards the belly, and take 3 breaths. Releasing any tension there in the low back. One more breath. All right, walk up to your knees. Camel pose. Now you might need some padding underneath your knees for this one. So I'm going to bring my yoga blanket forward and place my knees on top. So camel pose is definitely a little bit of a back bend, but we don't want to go too far, because I want you to just use this to focus on tightening your glutes. So place your hands back behind on your sacral area on either side and tense your glute muscles. And you'll notice when you squeeze them both, it pushes your hips forward because your hip flexors relax. Then open up your shoulder blades, or your chest muscles squeezing your shoulder blades, and then we'll extend back into any amount of a back bend. Now when you do this camel pose, you can also tuck your toes underneath here as well, because sometimes that makes you feel a little bit more stable when you're going back. You have your toes anchored underneath you. Keep the squeeze in the glutes going, and feel this stretch right through your hip flexors and maybe through your quads. Abs are engaged, throat is open. One more breath. And then come back up. Relax your arms for a moment, reach them all the way up. Now turn your body slightly to the right. So I'm going to twist a little and put your right hand right here on this right glute. Squeeze the right glute and twist, looking over your right shoulder. Now you're also squeezing the left a little bit as well. Getting a nice twist. If you can reach your heel, then this hand reaches back and you support yourself, and keep extending up, up, up through the entire spine. Then preparing to come back up, this right arm reaches. We turn the body slightly to the left. Then the left hand goes to the sacral area, to the glute. Squeeze the glutes, tense. Slightly arch back through the spine, looking over that left shoulder. Left hand can come to that heel. And breathe. I can really feel that right hip flexor releasing here. One more breath. And then lift that left hand back up. Lower your arms down. Once more, we'll do both hands either here at the hips, or you can reach both hands to your heels. So squeeze the glutes tight, lengthen the front of the spine, tip back any amount to get your stretch, and maybe your fingertips find your heels, depending on that flexibility that you have. Now your head can tip back a little bit to open your throat, or if it feels more comfortable, pull your chin forward and stack your head so you don't have any strain in your neck muscles. And one more breath. Exhale to come back up, reaching the arms high. And then swan dive down into your child's pose as a counter stretch, or you can do a cat stretch here. Both are great poses to release your back. So we'll transition to seated. And I'm going to bring my yoga blanket underneath my seat. If you have one, that's great. Gives your tailbone a little bit of support. And then have your yoga strap ready. You might need it for this next pose. So what I'm going to do is fold my right leg in, like I'm going to sit cross-legged, and then my left foot is in front of me with a bend in my knee. The right hand reaches on top of your left foot, and you're going to grab the outside of your foot with your fingers, pick your leg up, and see if you can straighten your leg out. Now, some of us can, some of us can't. If you cannot, the yoga strap is your friend. You're going to put that under the bottom of your foot, hold it wherever you can get extra length, and get your leg to straighten. So you might need quite a bit of length to bring it up. Now the higher you can lift this leg, the more you're going to feel the stretch, but if it's low, that's okay. We're going to pull our leg across our body, but the chest is staying forward. So I'm either using this yoga strap or have my hand here, guiding my leg across. So here's where we get our IT band to open up. And then extend your left arm out and turn your body any amount away from your foot. So you're turning towards your left and you're pulling that left leg across to the right. You can also take this left hand and put it behind you and anchor it to the floor as you twist. Let's hold here a couple more breaths. This is one of my favorite IT band stretches. And as you exhale that last breath, come out of your twist first, aligning your body forward, then bring the leg back to the front, bend the knee, and release it down. Let's switch sides. So we'll tuck the left leg under, like you're going to come into cross leg pose. Bending the right knee in front of you, the left hand reaches across, or we take our yoga strap under the foot, and we lift the leg up until we can get it straight. Then we pull it across the body. Now make sure you're not sitting all slouched and hunched up here. I want you to lift up, really create a good alignment, and use that hand to pull your leg across any amount till you feel that nice stretch in the IT band. Right arm opens, and then twist back behind you, or put the hand behind your body to create that nice second spine. And then keep looking over your shoulders so you really feel a nice stretch and range of motion through your neck. And the breath moves in and out through the nose, or in through the nose, out through the mouth. 2 more breaths. And then come out of the twist first. The leg releases forward and the knee bends. Beautiful. Let's come into Baddha Konasana, the soles of the feet together. We'll just open up through the inner thighs and then release the lower back and just fold forward for a few breaths. Now I want you to tighten your gluteal muscles and try to push your knees out a little farther. So if you squeeze them, your knees will open, and hold that tension and then release it. Squeeze, push your knees out and release 2 more times. Tense the muscles and release. Now tense them and hold. Now how hard should you be tensing? On a scale of 1 to 10, maybe about a 4. So not a huge squeeze, but enough just to switch those muscles on and to feel the work. And then fold forward a little bit more, just 2 breaths here. Keep opening those knees, keep squeezing through the muscles. 1 more breath. And then come up, closing those knees together. Let's hold Navasana, our boat pose. So leaning back just a little bit. You can stay here, or we can allow the feet to rise up and either bend your knees or straighten your legs. Arms can lift. Nice and active through the core. If you can, squeeze your legs tight together. 1 more breath. And then if legs are up, release your feet back down to the mat. And then we'll roll down onto our backs for 1 more IT band stretch with your yoga strap. Coming down flat onto your back, we'll take that strap underneath the bottom of your right foot, extend it right up towards the ceiling. So I'd like for you to get your legs straight. That might mean that you really have lengthened out your yoga strap, or your leg might be lower so that you can get it straight. Wherever you're at, find a straight leg if possible. Opposite leg goes down to the mat. Now I want you to feel your right hip down into the floor. Don't let it roll up and lift, because we're not going to twist. We're just going to pull the leg across without letting it lift up off the hip, lift up off the floor. And this is one of the best IT band stretches. If we do it correctly, we'll really get that muscle engaged. And breathe. I'd like to be here about 60 seconds if you can stay that long. If you need to take a break on it, you certainly can. But this IT band is a really strong connective tissue. It's harder to stretch it than it is just, say, your glute, which is a muscle. So we want to hold that stretch. And sometimes I'm taking my fingertips and running them the length of that muscle. Some deep tissue massage is really good for that tension there too. And you might feel that really tight band if you take a little pressure into that. And let's hold here about 3 or 4 more slow breaths. Now, if you feel like the IT band is kind of your nemesis and you need to stay here longer, then I want you to keep holding. If you'd like to do a twist, then we're going to bend this knee and roll that leg across. And I'm going to use my left hand to push on the knee a little bit. And we're going to get a nice stretch here along that medial glute into the lower back area. My right shoulder blade pressed nice and firmly into the floor. And you can look to the opposite direction from that right knee. So looking over towards your right hand gives you that twist into the cervical spine as well. And take one more deep breath into the rib cage. And exhale it out. And then bring that knee back to center. We're going to finish the sequence with reclining tree. So bring the sole of your right foot to your left inner thigh, and then let your knee just relax open. Now, if your arm is long enough to reach that leg, place your hand right onto your inner thigh and give yourself a nice little press down. This is going to stretch the hip flexor here on that right side. And you can just gently squeeze your right glute. And that'll give you a little extra release through that muscle. Then release the tension in the muscle and just relax. 3 more breaths. And then we'll close that knee in, reaching for your yoga strap. We'll place it underneath the bottom of the ball of the left foot. And then wherever you need to lengthen that strap out, get your leg as straight as you possibly can. If it's low, that's okay. Straighten out your right leg, lengthen it on the mat. This gives you a little extra release for your hip flexor. Find your maximal stretch here for your hamstring as well. And then keeping your left hip on the floor, just bring that left leg, oh my, across a little bit. Okay, I'm feeling a huge difference on this side. My left side is definitely tighter. At least today it is. It's amazing how our bodies are different every single day. And we just have to keep an open mind with those changes that we see in our body, and not to judge ourselves in any way. There's no self-judgment, self-condemnation. There's just gratitude for what we have and for the health in our body in this moment. Now, once you've released it for about 30 seconds, we have a little bit longer to hold. You might be able to go slightly deeper. But be sure if you're feeling any shaking in the muscle that you back off on that stretch a little. That's a sign that you're getting the muscle spindle and the Golgi tendon organ, which are receptors in the muscles and tendons, to respond and to overreact to the stretch. Now we're going to hold here about 3 or 4 more breaths. But again, if you need this more than you need the twist, then you can stay here if you'd like. Or we'll transition to the twist by bending the knee and then bringing it across the body. Now you're going to let that hip lift up off the floor. Extend your left arm out. You can turn your head to the left. I love the chest stretch here too in a twist. So when you're opening that left arm out, you'll feel a nice release through the pecs, through the front of the shoulder. If your arm is floating off the floor, if you're really tight here, you might need to lower it down a little bit or bend your elbow some so that you can get it to relax into the earth. Notice where the breath moves into the ribs. Let's take 2 more. And then bring your head back to center. The knee comes to center. And we'll take our reclining tree pose by bringing the left sole of the left foot to the right inner thigh. Let your knee open. And then you can use your hand here to slightly press that thigh open and squeeze your left glute. You're going to hold that squeezing for just a few breaths. And then relax that glute muscle totally and just relax into this tree pose. So let both legs feel heavy. Notice your breath in and out through the belly. And then we'll close that knee back in, setting your left foot on the floor, and then your right foot comes to the floor as well. And pull your toes up so you're right onto your heels. Then lift your hips a few inches off the floor. So not a big arching bridge, but just enough so you can clear a little bit of space underneath your hips. Push down into the hips or into your heels, lift up with the hips, squeeze your glutes, and then lower down a few inches and lift and lower. I want you to find your glutes as you lift and lower. You're also going to feel this in your hamstrings a little bit, which is excellent. Your core is engaged nicely. And let's lift 4 more times. And 3. And 2. Now hold those hips up. And we're going to squeeze the glutes and try to squeeze your cheeks together while I tell you a funny little story. So I did gymnastics from the time I was a little kid and had just the most amazing gymnastics coach, and he was so funny. He's still alive, so I'm going to give a little credit to my coach, Clark Gainwish, from Casper, Wyoming. So he was trying to get us students to squeeze our glutes and to activate them, because you need to do that for a lot of the tricks that we would do in gymnastics. So while we would hold this, he would say, now just imagine I'm going to give you a quarter. And you're going to hold that quarter in your cheeks. Yes, he said that to us. And you're going to squeeze it so tight, you're going to give me 2 dimes and a nickel change. So that was something that stuck with me over the years. So funny little story. We're going to change that quarter into 2 dimes and a nickel for 2 more breaths. Ooh. And 1 more. Then release that tension in the glutes. Let your hips float down to the floor. All right, let's take our reclining pigeon, or if you prefer a regular pigeon, you can sit yourself up and come into pigeon. But we'll do a figure 4 stretch here, crossing the ankle over the thigh. Push your knee open a little bit and then pull the knees up, and we'll stretch through the right glute. So your pigeon pose is an excellent choice here as well. And for those of you that feel comfortable in that pose, it doesn't bother your knees, it's a wonderful pose. But sometimes it's difficult for some of us to get into correctly, so this is a really great option. So I have both of my ankles flexed, so there's some tightening of the muscles in my shins, which helps to prevent this knee here from twisting or taking any tension, and it puts it into the hip. Into those deep external rotators, a great stretch if you have any sciatic nerve pain or tight glutes. All right, let's lower down and switch. Crossing left ankle over right thigh, flex your foot, let your knee open, and pull the knees right up into your chest. If you're pretty open in your hips, this might not feel like a great big huge intense stretch, but that's not a bad thing. It's where you are today, and you just want to lengthen to that place. You don't always have to go so deep that you feel that intensity of a stretch. Stretches can be a little bit more restorative and relaxing. And there's a time and place for both of those styles of stretching. One more breath here on the left side. And then we'll lower the feet down, taking our Supta Baddha Konasana. Both feet are together as we open up the knees. And we're going to clench the glutes one more time to push the knees apart. So squeeze through the buttocks and try to press your knees outward down to the floor, and then release. And squeeze and release. 2 more times. And on the last one, we'll hold. Now you might squeeze so much and push your legs out so far that they touch the floor if you're pretty flexible through your hips. Or you might be able to actually lift your bum up off the floor about 3 inches, 2-3 inches, and keep pressing those knees outward. 2 more breaths. If your hips are up, let them return down. Soften your glutes and just let your legs relax open. And bring your arms to goalpost. So hands come up next to the ears. Elbows are bent about 90 degrees. Feel a little release there through the shoulders, through the pecs. If you're pretty flexible here, it just might feel like a nice relaxing position. If your arms are so tight, the shoulders are so tight, your hands are floating off the floor, then choose a different position so that you can relax your arms. Maybe the hands come down a little, or the arms open out like a T or like airplane wings. And just scan your body just to make sure that you're not holding tension anywhere else. And if this position doesn't feel comfortable for your lower back, you can actually reverse it. So the reverse of Baddha Konasana is to close your knees together until they touch, and then walking your feet away from your knees until they come out to the outside edges of your mat. And sometimes that'll take care of any low back pain that you might feel here. Now, if you need a little extra time this morning in relaxation and meditation, you like to remain as you are, there's no need to come up and close class with me. You can stay as you are as long as you'd like. Or if you're following the sound of my voice, we'll close those knees together and then choose a side that you'd like to roll to. So you'll drop the knees over to one side, make a little pillow for your forehead, and stay here in baby pose for a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, using your arms to press yourself up, we'll come into a nice simple cross-leg pose or any other position that feels comfortable for you to sit for just a few breaths. Now, releasing the neck, take the right ear towards the right shoulder. So we're lengthening this left side of the neck. Bring the right arm out and gently just place your hand across your ear, and I'm not going to pull. I'm just using a little bit of weight to create some more length here. The left hand is going to go behind my back to create this nice lengthening through the side of the neck. And then I'm going to use my right hand to twist my head like a doorknob and turn my chin down towards my armpit. You can do that without your hand weighted on your head. You can just tip it to the side and turn the chin down. Then turn your head back to neutral. If you have your hand there, release it and bring your head back up. Slide the left arm out from your back. Then we'll tip the left ear towards the left shoulder. If you like that little bit of extra, reach that arm and just set the hand without pulling. The right arm reaches behind your back. And then we turn, bringing the chin towards your armpit. And then bring the head back to the neutral. Releasing the arm. And come back up with the head, releasing the arm from behind you. We'll take a nice big deep breath in. Then exhale, placing the hands right on top of the knees, and we'll take 3 circles with the spine around, leading from the right side to the left. So tip right, come forward, left, and up. 2 more. Last time around. Pausing at the center, take a nice big inhale. Exhale to reverse from the left, center, the right. 2 more circles. This is a great sequence to start a yoga practice with, but it's a really nice one to finish as well. Last time around. And come back to neutral. Bring your arms to goalpost. Pull your elbows back. Lift your heart. Open up your throat. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, tuck your chin and try to touch your elbows and your hands together and open up your shoulder blades. 2 more. Breathe in. Expand. Breathe out. Contract. Breathe in. Expand. Breathe out. Contract. And breathe in. Expand and hold. And we'll just place the palms together at heart center as we close our practice with gratitude and honor. And the light and joy that resides within me honors the light and the joy in each of you. Namaste. Thank you for the pleasure of teaching you again today. If anybody would like to stay on for a moment and chat, that would be excellent. I'll get my other device shut off here.